This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL. Switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
We are going to talk a ton of football today, but before we do, I have to give a shout out to, and Taylor, you highlighted this on Twitter for me yesterday, so thank you, to Angie's Subs in Jack's Beach. So last night, I see your tweet about it, and that was the first I had heard. So I must have missed it on social at that point. So I read that they are still taking donations until 9 o'clock. Immediately jump in the car, run to a store, pick out some items, go to Angie's, not expecting there to be the truck with like 20 people helping load everything. Yeah. So it is fantastic. This city certainly rallies around. We understand what it's like to go through some devastation weather-wise. And so the city, that's right, RJ. Round of applause is right, because this city got off the mat and certainly contributed a ton. And certainly thanks to Ed Malin and everybody there at Angie's, they're going to be taking lots of supplies. And so I thank all of them for their hard work.
Yeah, I agree. I saw the article and it actually popped up on my Facebook. And it's just the amount of just supplies already at that point that were outside of Angie's. And I'm sure it probably doubled, tripled, because at that point they wrote the article and people like you, Lauren, were like, oh, there's still time. Let me go help as much as I can. And these type of things are obviously devastating. You never want to see this stuff happen to some of these cities. When you see the videos and stuff, it's heartbreaking. But it also is some of those moments when you realize like there's really, really good people in the world, and you start seeing this. Obviously, this is a local story, but I'm seeing them everywhere, all over, where people are driving hours. I saw one where a guy got his grill. He has one of the grills that you like, the big tailgating grills, and drove to one of the cities that got devastated, that haven't had power, and started cooking them all food because they probably lost all of their food. They haven't had any way to cook. And so just things like that. I love it. I love those moments.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody who donated. And like I said, everybody who is donating their time as well. And hope that a lot of that area is able to deal with the flooding or deal with the amount of powerless homes and things like that, businesses. I mean, it's certainly Hurricane Helene has been a massive storm that's affected so many people. All right, now we'll get into Jaguars football. Yeah, I'll ask the question, what exactly is going on? You've got Jordan Schultz saying that Doug Peterson's lost the locker room. You've got Benjamin Solak on ESPN saying that Trevor Lawrence is not the only issue. That certainly it doesn't seem, though, like Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence are in the same relationship or on the same page as they were a couple years ago. But what's going on here?
A lot of things are going on, and it depends on, who you talk to, I think, Lauren, because from everything I know, and from the messaging that you hear from Doug Peterson, this team, there's enough people around the organization that don't feel this division that others are reporting there is, that I quite frankly think beauty is in the eyes of its beholder, just like, ugliness is in the eyes of the beholder. And that's kind of the situation you find yourself in when you're 0-4, whether it's the Jacksonville Jaguars or any team in any professional sport. When you're 0-4, this is when you really have to see how strong your operation is from top to bottom. And that is not to say that there are, leaks or whatever you want. Look, this is what happens when you find yourself up against the wall. And it's different when you're 0-4 versus, to Doug Peterson's point, when you're 2-6 in 2022 and it's your first year in the organization.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you had very different expectations between those two seasons also. And I tweeted when you had posted the quote, because Doug, obviously, when Schultz reports said that he had lost the locker room, and then Doug today said pretty much he would know. And, he talks to these guys every day, I just quote tweeted that saying, we'll find out soon. And to me, maybe it's not saying, because I think there are levels of losing the locker room. We've seen it where players just full on start speaking about it because they're fed up. And then you see other situations where it doesn't quite get to that extreme. But to me, for the most part, most people, and this is any job, aren't going to their boss and telling them they don't like them. Like, I don't like what you're doing. Maybe you can criticize some things and be like, hey, like this happened and I don't like it. What shows to me the direct correlation between when you lose a locker room isn't the coach knowing that he lost the locker room. It's that it shows, and not just production, but effort. And you don't feel like you've seen a ton of effort the last 3 weeks. And to me, that is that first indication of when your players aren't playing to, especially when you have all of the talent. Like how many times do we have to talk about this roster on paper compared to what they're actually putting on the football field? And that's the part to me that stands out the most. The production, you can see there's bad games. It's kind of a wonky season already. You can see it all over the league. Certain teams scoring 40-something points one week and 13 the next week. It's kind of all over. It's a weird season to start so far, especially offensively across the board. But you feel if that continues and the effort isn't there and you feel like people are just kind of like, okay, like you're seeing people pout on the sideline and you're seeing people get upset at clearly the coaches. Like that's when things to me start showing that the locker room, maybe you haven't lost it yet, but you're on the verge. And if things don't change quick, it's gone.
And that's the point that I hit on yesterday. And I want to stress again, I had more concerns, and I know it's weird to say, but I had more concerns leaving availability last week than I did leaving Houston, because that was a quiet locker room in the middle of the week. I understand you're 0-3. I understand you're coming off of a butt whipping. But the idea of don't you want to get back out there and prove it? I didn't sense that collectively when I left the locker room from Wednesday's availability last week. It was quiet. Not that you want guys joking around and having fun when you're 0-3, but that loose idea, or rather the idea of being loose that Doug Peterson preached, Travis Etienne said it at length, that this team needed to get back to playing free and easy. Step one of that is being free and easy when you're with your teammates. I understand it's awkward when 25 media members descend into a safe space for you. I respect and understand that. But the idea of being relaxed, I didn't see it. And in contrast, not that they looked relaxed after losing a heartbreaker in Houston, but certainly there was still a drive and a determination of, hey, we are not a bad football team. We are not what this record says we are, as much as you are what your resume is. And there is still hope, and there is still a path here. I sense that a lot more Sunday after a difficult loss than I did earlier in the week.
Look, at 0-4, everyone's going to be criticizing everything, from players to coaches to the front office staff. That's fully understood, I think, by everyone that plays in professional sports and watches and consumes it. Where I think things started to go off kilter a little bit is the first time that Doug Peterson started to get a little bit tense at and defensive about his coaching style and the play calling. So 2 weeks ago. And then certainly the next day he was right back to normal Doug. And then this past Sunday, again, we saw a different demeanor from him than we've seen, I feel like, the entire time he's been here. So that's where I think you're going to then start to see this idea that things are fractured, because you have a coach who's saying, it's not my fault, it's their fault. And immediately that's going to then bring lots of the national media looking at it and going, that's not at all what normally happens in the NFL.
Yeah, and we saw the clips or the people talking about how he changed from the saying we to I when he was talking in the presser the other day. Coach Campo went into that, and Coach Campo said yesterday he noticed it right away, as when people were kind of pushing him on some questions that he didn't love, immediately it turned away from we to like, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, pretty much. And that's kind of what he's done this whole season. And I don't like that. Like, I just feel like, yes, I do think there is, to a certain extent, players do have to play and coaches have to coach, which is what he was kind of saying over and over again in one of the press conferences a couple weeks ago. But at the same time, there's a reason that we're seeing this long list of players, what we feel like regress over get better. And I saw someone tweet yesterday, too, of like, what players do you think have gotten better from last year? And there's like two that I can really think of that you could say that actually had a shot last year. I'm not including Ventrell because we didn't get to see Ventrell. And so players to where you felt, Tank Bigsby obviously is the main one you want to go to. I would put Buster Brown in that category also. But the list of guys that I feel like have gotten worse or stayed the same from last year is much longer. And that, to me, is where the concern comes in.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a win on Sunday, wearing the throwback jerseys, honoring Tom Coughlin as he's put into the Pride, that is, I feel like, not a full reset button, Mia, but it certainly takes the massive amount of pressure off. And then you get to leave Jacksonville. And once again, maybe that's a good thing for you, which seems completely ironic and not like any other team. But hey, it is what it is.
Look, again, if I'm Doug Peterson, if I'm a coach, I will talk about Tom Coughlin. I will talk about the significance of his impact on the organization and the legacy and what have you. I respect that with Doug Peterson. The last thing I am doing is talking about the 10-game win streak that the Jaguars have in Duval/London for home games against the Indianapolis Colts. That is the last thing that I am talking about. Now, you could certainly say, hey, look at what we did last time out against them. Look at how we swept them last year. Look at how we attacked this Gus Bradley defense and how we can do it again this go-round. But at the same time,
I don't know if you want to highlight that stat right now.
I'm not Doug Peterson. And so honestly, for me, it's if you can't bounce back in this game with everything else that's going on, that's, again, where you have to have a serious conversation and serious questions.
Yeah, and I think on the outside perspective, other teams are looking at the Jags right now as weak. They're looking at this team like, okay, this is a team that was talked about in the offseason as not winning their division, but competing for that first
Being
spot
a playoff
with the Texans. Yeah, the Texans, and having that shot of getting into the postseason. And now you're 0-4, and not only 0-4, but it's been a really bad loss to the Bills, blown lead to the Miami Dolphins, just a deflating looking loss to the Browns, and then you had a close one against the Texans. Good job.
Another blown lead, really.
Yeah,
it should be 2-2 right now.
I mean
that's
should
shoulda,
whatever.
shoulda,
I know. I
woulda.
don't care about shoulds.
So the three youngest players on the Jaguars roster, Cam Little, Mason Smith, and Brian Thomas Jr., they're all 21 years old. They were 11 years old the last time the Colts won in Jacksonville.
That's so
now, like you said, Mia, Doug's not talking to the team about that stat, but it's something that we
look
are
what all
going
of
to
these
talk
other
about.
teams did, guys.
Correct. All right. When we return, we'll continue the Jaguars conversation. I want to read something that Jeremy Fowler put out on ESPN yesterday, and a whole lot more Mia's My Bookie picks. And we have some concert tickets. Win them before you can buy them. So stay tuned. You're listening to 1010XL 92.5 FM.
1010XL Weekly is your one-stop shop for all things Jags, college ball, preps, and more. Subscribe to our newsletter today, and you'll be entered to win free tickets to the Packers game this October. Subscribe, just head on over to 1010XL.com and scroll down to the 1010XL Weekly flash page.
16 years serving great craft beer in Jacksonville is saying something, and that's worth a round of applause. And Bold City Brewery is celebrating. Duval's oldest brewery is set up for a big party October 12th, and you don't want to miss it. Live music all day, great food, giveaways, and growlers galore. In fact, Bold City Brewery will be giving away free pints, and someone's going to win free growler fills for a year. It's all at Bold City Brewery, Roselle Street in Riverside. Check out all the details at boldcitybrewery.com.
What's the weekend in sports look like? I'm Dan Hicken, and I'll give you my take on the Weekend with Dan. Find it on YouTube and Facebook. Weekend with Dan, brought to you by Stone Core. We do outdoors better.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Chick-fil-A is introducing their new banana pudding milkshake that's here to enjoy for a limited time only. The seasonal treat features Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert mixed with bananas and vanilla wafer cookie crumbles. It's a perfect sweet spin on the classic shake. The banana pudding milkshake is here for a limited time, so stop by your local Chick-fil-A restaurant and treat yourself today.
What a week of football and betting it was last week. Mia here, and if you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running that double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. Another huge week of college and NFL games on tap, and it begins on Thursday. Get signed up now for a little Sunbelt Funbelt college matchup. Texas State, a 2-touchdown favorite, headed to Troy. This is the Funbelt, though, so we will take the over 58 points on that total. For Thursday night in the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Atlanta, where they open as 2.5-point underdogs to the Falcons. I take a long, hard look at betting the Bucs with the points and parlay that over 43.5 on the total. For a limited time, MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
Hurricane season is here, and if you own or run a business, you must protect your valuable property from parking lot floods. Call Duck Duck Rooter, your storm drain maintenance experts. Our VACCON team specializes in regular storm drain maintenance to keep your property safe and secure. With Duck Duck Rooter, you can trust our professionals to keep your storm drains clear, preventing floods and ensuring the well-being of your customers and employees. Call us today at 904-862-6769 to schedule your storm drain maintenance. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com for more information.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
If you know about artificial turf, you know it needs to be done right. Lauren Brooks here from my friends at Sunshine Turf, a family-owned company that will transform your outdoor space into the oasis of your dreams. A putting green, a pet run, a maintenance-free yard. Trust me, the team at Sunshine Turf are the experts you need to transform your lawn. With the highest quality products and budget-friendly pricing, get clean, low-maintenance synthetic grass by visiting sunshineturf.info or call 904-383-0243 to get a free quote today from Sunshine Turf.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
It's time to take it back to the 90s, Jags fans. Be at the bank Sunday, October 6th, as we debut our Prowler throwback jerseys against the Colts and induct legendary head coach Tom Coughlin into the pride of the Jaguars at halftime. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. You're not going to want to miss this matchup. Lock in your seats now by going to jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000.
Elbow pain, whether acute or chronic, can make it difficult to do normal activities like playing sports, doing household chores, or even sleeping comfortably. Dr. George Barry here, and no one wants to deal with pain without solutions on how to feel better. We've all heard of tennis and golfer's elbow, but there's plenty more that can cause pain, like osteoarthritis, muscle tears, and nerve entrapment. All are treatable at Barry Orthopedics. Getting you back to full health is our mission, and there's a number of different treatment options we can offer. Call us today or visit BarryOrthopedics.com.
Universal Roof and Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game. Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
Brian Thomas Jr. was special on Sunday in Houston. The teal and black wideout recorded 86 yards on 6 receptions and added in a touchdown in what was a stellar showing. The young rookie shined like the superstar that he is, and there's plenty of excitement to see what's next for him. Brian Thomas Jr. is your Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
Rake in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contract. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements with financing options as low as $115 a month. Protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. This offer expires October 31st. Protect your home and your wallet. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
We've got the beat all right. The Brooks Beat. Here's Lauren Brooks.
This song, do you immediately know it's Rascal Flatts?
Yes.
Instantly.
I can. Like immediately, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those where, like, I mean, you could say this about a lot of songs, but, like, immediately takes you back to, and I think that's a lot of Rascal Flatts songs, like, wherever you first heard that song or just driving in your car. And I think they have a unique sound in that they're able to do that pretty much with every song across the board.
Have you seen them?
I have. I saw them when I was in Gainesville, so a long time ago. They were really, really popular early 2000s.
Yeah.
And
I saw them at the arena. I think I was like 2009 maybe. Something like that, but they were fantastic.
Yeah.
True story. So they were one of the headliners the year that I was interning at the Academy of Country Music for the Party for a Cause Festival. And so not only did I get to see and meet Rascal Flatts, but the giant containers that they had throughout the parking lot where the stage was, these giant containers that had water, ice, what have you, where you could, buy a beer or buy a Coca-Cola, whatever it may be. So then at the end of the festival, they had all these giant containers. And so most of the interns, of course, were from or went to school in California. And so they said, hey, do you want to take it home with you? Bring it to your frat house, your sorority house. And so everybody was taking one. And, I was the only intern who was from the East Coast. And I said, oh, I'll take one too. And they said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to ship it back to Ithaca and I'm going to use it my senior year. And now it has resided in my parents' back shed in their backyard for the last 9 years. One of these days, I will get it brought back down. Rascal Flatts, beautiful poster on it and all. I will get it brought down here to Duval County.
Poor RJ's like, I have to keep playing this song. I need you guys to give the tickets away so I can stop playing this song. So the first song and your first chance to win right now, Fast Cars and Freedom. And if you want to go see Rascal Flatts, the concert is at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena where Taylor saw them. It comes up April 5th, 2025. So this coming April. Again, you can win these tickets before you can buy them. They do go on sale this Friday morning at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Right now, it'll be caller number 3-641-1010. Caller number 3-641-1010. Yeah, Gary LaVox, the lead singer of Rascal Flatts, just has an unbelievable voice. So yeah, it's going to be a very fun concert.
And he's one of the ones live. It's the same, it sounds the exact same as it does on the album.
I totally agree. If you didn't win these tickets, we'll have 2 more pairs. So keep on listening to Helmets and Heels today. All right, right now, Mia has her midweek MyBookie picks.
Now, Mia's midday MyBookie picks. Experience the Vegas thrill from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.
All right, we got one from the NFL, one from Major League Baseball, one from the college ranks, and one from the WNBA playoffs. Cue some music, RJ. Let's begin with Thursday Night Football in the ATL. I am shocked that this line remains in favor of the hometown Atlanta Falcons, -1.5, given how well, outside of an aberration, let's call it, against the Denver Broncos in Tampa Town 2 weeks ago. For me, there is no question I am taking the Bucs +1.5, and that's not to say I don't believe in what Kirk Cousins is cooking, because I certainly do. But 3 offensive linemen go down Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs. That offensive line has been under a bit of fire of late. Can they operate at that peak efficiency we saw in the final 2 minutes against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football against a Tampa team that is as hot as anyone? So give me the Bucs +1.5. I did not forget about you entirely, Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves, for the second time in 3 days, on the brink of elimination later today. I love the Braves +100 out in San Diego. The Padres this season have a batting average of .239 against lefties. Max Fried will be on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. No Chris Sale yesterday. Literally, you win the game at 7 o'clock on Monday night. You have to fly cross country. You don't have Chris Sale. And you're thrust into a game 24 hours later. I understand every team at this juncture of the postseason is up against it, but I do like the synergy of this last-ditch effort by the Braves to make a run in the postseason. So I like that game to be forced to a rubber match and for the Braves to win tonight. That is +100 on the money line at MyBookie. Thursday night Sun Belt Fun Belt. Texas State, a 13-point favorite. I do like Texas State by that 2-touchdown mark after Troy put up 21 points on the Iowa Hawkeyes 3 weeks ago. It's been some tough sledding. They put 34 on A&M the next week. That's, of course, Florida A&M, FAMU. 13-9 lost to UL Monroe, though, last week. And so the offense in short supply. They're going to run the ball. There's no question about that. They've gone over the 100-yard mark in 3 of their 5 games. But I am concerned about Troy being able to keep pace with Texas State's offensive attack. And speaking of offense, not expecting a whole lot of it. Defense wins championships, and that's what you've seen from the Connecticut Sun and the Minnesota Lynx. A 77-70 final in favor of the hometown Lynx last night in Minneapolis. The under 151.5 I absolutely love for Game 2 on Friday night. These are 2 teams that rest their hat on their ability to play defense and to make clutch shots down the stretch and to value the possession in the half court. So give me the under on that 151.5 total. So again, my bookie midweek picks: Bucks plus 1.5, Braves on the money line plus 100, Texas State minus 13, Sun and the Lynx under 151.5 is your total. And of course, you can get on the action at mybookie.ag and use promo code 1010XL for that double deposit bonus to instantly double your money on your very first deposit.
Trevor Lawrence is meeting with the media as we speak. He was asked, of course, about Doug Peterson losing the locker room. He said, "I shouldn't even have to answer that. Not at all." He said, "I don't know where that's coming from. I know you have to ask the question. I don't want to expand on something that's just not true." So at least from the quarterback, things are still rolling along nicely here. Well, I shouldn't say nicely. They haven't won yet, but they are still in a good relationship. I'll say that. So Jeremy Fowler yesterday reported that another loss or two could leave the 0-4 Jaguars trading away players. This roster is not barren. He could see teams inquiring on rookie scale talent such as linebacker Devin Lloyd, safety Andre Sisco, running back Travis Etienne. He's not saying Jacksonville wants to move these marquee players, but we've seen the script before when a team implodes. The Jaguars have 3 starting caliber offensive tackles with Walker Little as the odd man out. Teams always need offensive line help and will make calls accordingly. I would be shocked if the Jaguars moved on from Travis Etienne. As for Devin Lloyd and Andre Sisco and Walker Little, at this point in time, it wouldn't shock me.
I mean,
I'm not saying they're going to. It just wouldn't shock me.
And again, a lot of it is dependent on the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because, again, and it's only on paper. And as Doug Peterson said today, like on paper, yes, they are a better team than 0-4 would suggest. If you win the next 3 and you're 3-4, you're not going to trade those guys at the trade deadline, because this is a team that has consistently valued throughout the course of the last 12 months trying to stockpile as much instant plug-and-play talent as they can. That's the reason that they tried to ensure they could keep the services of Cam Robinson, Walker Little, and Anton Harrison. I mean, once upon a time, they were hopeful they'd try to keep Jawan Taylor, too, in the fold and have all 3 of those guys, and ultimately the price tag just did not match what the Jaguars were able to give Jawan Taylor. And so I personally, unless they are 0-7, 1-6, I don't see that happening. Because again, if only at this juncture, this current regime is here for the long haul and they view those guys in some form or fashion as part of their win now window right now.
Yeah, I mean, he says another loss or two. So if they're 0-6, I do think things start to be evaluated because at that point you are talking about the coaches. And we talked the other day, what does that mean? Does it just mean Doug? Does it just mean Press? Is it Doug, Press, and Trent? Everybody else that is Phil Rauscher and all of them. So that's the interesting thing, because if you do get to the point where you're 0-6 or 0-7 and you do look like it's heading towards cleaning house, then maybe honestly this is something that happens. And to me, it's funny because I almost thought opposite, Lauren, of I could see an ETN being the one that goes and not the other guys, just because I think that ETN would have more value to other teams. To me, Andre Sisco hasn't played well at all. Devin Lloyd's kind of regressed since last year, almost non-existent so far this year. So I'm not sure how much you would get out of those, and especially Devin Lloyd, so young into his career, especially, I feel like I'm not sure how much value you would get out of it and what it would be worth for either team. But someone like Travis Etienne, when we're in this world of, and you see what Tank Bigsby can do, and you're in this like freshness of Tank Bigsby, and he's kind of the back that seems to be working the most. To me, I could see other teams having value in Travis Etienne and using him if they already have that kind of bowling ball type run over guys back, and they're like, hey, we could have this guy and use him in a lot of different ways, kind of like how the Detroit Lions used Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I could see the Jags getting more value out of that than the other guys.
See, I think teams look at it and say they've seen Andre Sisco play well before.
Like a little bit. I feel like every year we have the same conversation with Sisco, like this is the year. This is the year he breaks out and finally takes that next step, and it's always just like, you see 4 or 5 good games and then it's it.
But other teams always they'll say, well, the Jaguars scheme is not maybe the best fit for this person, like a Devin Lloyd, and we can do better things with him. And so I don't think ETN, just because I do think that he and Trevor go so far back. Maybe it's just the Clemson connection that's why I think he'd stay.
2 words, Quincy Williams. Sometimes
Correct.
the
That's
scheme,
exactly who I
the
was thinking
player,
of.
giving them time, we don't give them enough time. And you've heard that from a variety of people, especially when it comes to the quarterback position on this station and beyond over the last few weeks. Speaking of quarterbacks, let's hit that real quick, RJ.
That just happened. Brought to you by Florida Home AC, the official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Let's check in out in Indianapolis, where Shane Steichen told reporters less than an hour ago that Anthony Richardson will possibly practice today, depending on how he feels in the next few hours and based on what the training staff decides. He is feeling much, much better. Jonathan Taylor not expected to practice today for the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, we will switch gears and get it to college football on the other side as Darren Stoltzfus joins us to talk all things UCF as Florida plays host to UCF Saturday night. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Let's start the debate. Why would someone buy a new car from you? We have an exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on every new vehicle. We offer a competitive wow price plus free oil changes. How much will someone get for their trade? We offer more than $4,000 over KBV value. Well, we never lose a trade over price. Okay, when is the best time to buy a car? Right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter which side you pick. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, you get it all. Let us show you why we're the winning vote.
Now, the Hurricane Report. Brought to you by Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
The Cardiac Canes survived by the skin of their teeth, but go to 5-0 after a 38-34 win against Virginia Tech on Friday night. After some early struggles, Cam Ward led the Miami Hurricanes on 3 straight scoring drives to end the game to overcome a 2-score deficit in the fourth quarter. Next up for the Canes, they travel out west to face Cal for a 10:30 p.m. kickoff. The Hurricanes Report brought to you by Performance Painting.
If the Florida heat is getting you down and you're sweating up a storm, fire up a phone call to Florida Home AC and order an AC tune-up. It's the best way to beat the heat and keep your AC unit working at peak performance. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com for their tune-up special and make sure you're primed for the peak of that heat. Florida Home AC, the official AC provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and just a phone call away at 777-4300. Order that tune-up today.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm living proof that with Rebound Rehab, you can bounce back and get back in the game. Joe C. for Rebound Rehabilitation, and they helped me recover from an ankle injury that had me down and out. Their team of physical therapists ensure you'll get the best treatment you need to recover and regain mobility. From back, shoulder, and neck pain to a nagging knee or arthritis, Rebound Rehab can help form a game plan through therapy and exercise, complete with an app so you can continue to recover at home. Check out reboundrehab.com. 8 convenient locations.
If your IT, data security, and your office copiers are operating perfectly, you must have hired ABS, Advanced Business Solutions, as your technology partner.
Advanced Business Solutions.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On October 2nd, 1986, New York Mets Dwight Gooden becomes the first pitcher to collect 200 strikeouts in each of his first 3 seasons in the MLB.
Our most popular meat combo is ready to grill this season. Pounds and pounds of marinated steak tips and chicken, fresh ground beef, and homemade sausage. Just ask for the sampler combo.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds, which could be life-changing. I mean, you could put that money towards that zero-turn lawnmower you've always wanted. And after using its edge-shaping technology to meticulously sculpt the face of the Mona Lisa into your grass, you'll become the undisputed king of Saturday morning lawn care, leaving your neighbor and sworn enemy Gary to question his place in the delicate neighborhood ecosystem. And it's all because you could save money switching at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Homeowners, listen up. The Fed has taken action, lowering rates for the first time in years, and Loan Pronto has followed suit by lowering mortgage rates big time. Prosser here. Loan Pronto just locked in a homeowner at 4.59% APR, the lowest in 2 years. Whether you got your loan last month or last year, it's time to call Loan Pronto and dump that high-rate loan. You can lock in a lower rate fast with virtually no paperwork and usually no appraisal. There's no limit on how many times you can refi, so get started. Even if you're in process with another lender, give Loan Pronto a call. If you act now, you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Purchase loans available as well, so call now. Get your rate quote in minutes with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 904-999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781 on approved credit, MLS consumeraccess.org.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Rotator cuff tears are the most common overhead injuries I see. In order to avoid shoulder issues, make sure not to overload the front of the shoulder while also focusing on developing good scapular strength and maintaining flexibility in your lats. Proper hydration, nutrition, and supplementation are also crucial to joint and muscle health. Go Jag.
I'm with Greg Mackey from Cycles of Jacksonville, and even though you're the place to go for fun, you're also a place to go for generators. People need generators.
And the Honda lineup is amazing. They make the super quiet model, inverter technology, the electricity's super clean. You can have conversations with them. You can back up your whole house with a Honda generator. So we have them in stock, and we're ready to ride.
So you have generators big enough that could run everything in the house.
Absolutely.
Check it out, Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency for generators.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe. I want to talk to you about picking the right battles to fight in this life. Every day, we have opportunities to get upset and angry. But I want you to realize that sometimes you have to ignore in this life so that you can soar into the kingdom of heaven. My encouragement, friends, to you is to pick the right battles to fight. Fight only battles that help you draw closer to God, because you have to ignore so that you can soar.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
This is Dr. Turner Vossler, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars legend Tom Coughlin will be inducted into the Pride of the Jaguars on Sunday. With Hicken and Prosser, Coughlin told the story about trading for Mark Brunell.
So I called Ron Wolf, and I said, Ron, I just want to tell you right now, I'm interested in Mark Brunell. The prolonging is not going to take place with me. I said, it's done this afternoon if you want to do it. And then Ron said, can you make me look a little better? I said, well, what do you mean? He said, can you give me something? I said, okay, I'll give you a fifth, too, because I had the extra pick. So I gave him a third and a fifth to hit Brunell.
Wow.
Jaguars legend Tom Coughlin with Hicken and Prosser. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Always a pleasure to be joined by our good friend Darren Stoltzfus down in the Big O, the sports director at WESH TV, and of course, covering not only the UCF Knights, but the Florida Gators as well. So it's a Darren Stoltzfus Bowl, let's call it, this Saturday in Gainesville. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Mia. How are you? I never expected this game to have that moniker, so thank you very much, Mia.
Hey, listen, you do a great job going out of your way from Orlando to cover both outfits. It's the least that we can do. Let's begin with those hometown Knights for y'all down in Orlando. What the heck happened on Saturday, Darren, at the Bounce House? And did Deion Sanders, find a defense on his way from Boulder, in transit in the air? Did he pick him up on the side of the road? Because I didn't think that Colorado had a defense the way that they shut down the Knights and what was the number one running attack in college football.
Now, that might be the most fearful thing to think about for Knights fans, is if that defense was able to do what they did Saturday, that's not a good sign. I'm not sure what happened. They did come in early because of Helene, so maybe they just had extra time to, get used to the humidity and all that wonderful thing, the things that come along with Florida. But I was stunned. To me, it was the most deflating loss of Gus Malzahn's era in Orlando. And it's year 4. They had that horrible loss against Baylor last year. They lost to Navy to make them play on the road in the AAC championship a couple years ago when a New Year's 6th berth was on the line. But this was just, you had all the pomp and circumstance. You had Big Noon kickoff there. The Fox guys were going nuts after that. Said it was the biggest crowd most energy they'd ever seen for their kickoff show. And then more than 4 million people watch you just lay an egg on national television. And, yeah, it was awesome. The environment was great at kickoff. There was about a 45, 50-minute weather delay, and still you just felt the energy. And I'm not sure if that was more about Colorado. I'm sure some of it was. But that also just felt like this was the moment for UCF to be back on the national stage, to do it as a Power 4 school, to say, hey, we're here and we're not going anywhere. And it just, all the air out of the balloon just dissipated immediately.
Darren, tell us a little bit about when we're talking about the quarterback, KJ Jefferson, so far, because I feel like there's been some up and down moments when it comes to the passing game. We know the running side of things outside of that Colorado game, but talk a little bit about what you've seen through the beginning of this season with Jefferson.
I think the biggest question with KJ that we had when he transferred here was, is he going to be able to throw the deep ball? Is he going to be able to make throws when he needs to? And through the first 3 or 4 games, he didn't have to. But on the road at TCU, those final drives, he made some fantastic throws. So I think it's there. I don't necessarily think he's incapable of doing it. I just think so much of what Gus wants to do is based on the ground game. Mia said it. They were the number 1 rushing offense in the country. That's the way they want to win football games. Their running back room is so deep. And KJ, part of the reason they liked him was not only his experience, but because he's a more durable running quarterback. So I think that's where Gus wants to go first, and then the passing game will come after that. The question is, when your rushing attack gets taken away from you as much as it did, that's when the questions arise. So KJ's 1-0 in the Swamp. He won there with Arkansas a couple of years ago. That should bode well for the Knights moving forward, but there are a few questions about him.
Darren, on the Florida side of things, certainly Billy Napier is on the hottest of hot seats. Is that even a conversation there for UCF players and coaches?
I don't know that it is for UCF. I think it certainly is for everybody else. And I think this is one of those games that when you looked at it at the beginning of the season, you marked it as Florida really needs to win this football game. But when you look at it now, the way that UCF is limping into this one, they really need this one, possibly more than Florida. We all kind of know where this is going with Florida, or at least we have a pretty good idea of where things are going to end up by the end of the season. But it could accelerate things, certainly, if they can't get the job done against UCF on Saturday. But this somehow does feel bigger for UCF again than it did for Florida a couple weeks ago.
Darren Stoltzfus is our guest on the Garber Automall Hotline, breaking down Saturday's matchup in the Swamp between the UCF Knights and, of course, the Florida Gators. It is funny that we find ourselves at this juncture, Darren, given where we were when this game was scheduled once upon a time during the Dan Mullen era. This idea of, was Florida even willing to play UCF? Were they willing to play USF? And yet here we find ourselves where it's Gus at the head coach as the head coach of the Knights, Billy Napier at the helm of the Gators, and both are on the hot seat. And so, big picture, confidence that UCF fans have in the direction that Gus is headed, but also in the short term of where you alluded to it, where KJ Jefferson and this offense currently stand.
I think there's a lot of frustration in Orlando. That's probably the easiest way to put it. But, there has to be a little bit of patience for Gus Malzahn. He is guiding them through this transition to the Big 12. But that's where the frustration last Saturday came to fruition, is because this felt like the moment where UCF gets past all that transition talk. They have 50-plus new players this year out of the portal trying to get things going in the right direction. And his identity, Gus started the season with all the talk about it's coming off his first losing season. He's taking accountability for it. He has a chip on his shoulder. This team's going to play like they have a chip on their shoulder. And then they just didn't in the biggest moment of their year so far. So it is early. They win this game, they're going to feel really good going into Cincinnati next week and then at Iowa State, possibly playing for bowl eligibility already. There's a big swing with this one. So I don't know what the temperature is on Gus's feet, but yeah, you talk about all the changes that have happened from when this game first got on the books. Forever, Florida didn't want to do a 1-1 on a neutral site with UCF, and then finally they get the 1-1, but this was kind of added on with Terry Mahajer as the AD, so it really is a 2-for-1, even though this is a single game contract. But there's a lot that has changed, and I think, Florida probably doesn't put this game on the schedule, no doubt, with everything else that has gone on in the past couple of years. But now that they're in the Big 12, they get this extra opportunity for UCF to try to stake their claim to the top of college football. And with Florida down, it really feels like this is their moment. They just have to go out and do something, and they didn't Saturday.
7:45 on Saturday night, Darren. How do you think that UCF's defense is preparing for the possibility of the two quarterbacks that Florida's been using when it comes to obviously Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway?
Well, the good news for UCF is they're used to seeing a mobile quarterback because that's pretty much the entire Gus Malzahn template for offense, right? So they're going to be ready for DJ Lagway when he comes in. The question is Graham Mertz going to be as electric or as pinpoint accurate as he was against Arkansas? The guy was great. So I don't know how you pull a quarterback when he's 19 of 21 for whatever he was against Arkansas, but that was the Billy Napier plan, and he was sticking to it. So I'll be interested to see kind of what plan Billy comes up with to use both quarterbacks, to utilize both their strengths, and if there will be any feel for what's going on, or if he's just going to stick to the process and say, this is exactly what we planned, so this is exactly what we're doing. But, yeah, Graham Mertz has certainly looked a whole lot better since he got knocked out of that Miami game in week 1 and then sat out against Stanford. So I think that UCF defense, they didn't look great against Colorado, and Shedeur Sanders had a lot to do with that. But if they play like that against Florida, I think Florida's they're going to have their way with them.
For people listening that are Jaguars fans, just how does Travis Hunter look in person?
Travis Hunter was electric. He was dominating the scene, and that's hard to do as a quarterback and a wide receiver, but it felt like every time you looked up, he was making a play. He had that interception and then ran into the end zone and, hit the Heisman moment, which was pretty electric. And even before the game, he was interacting with the student section. He'd drop a pass, they'd boo him, and he'd, put his hand up to his ear. Very much the showman. So I think that is something that is a good thing in college football. Now, whether or not you get to be as sassy, that's the word that comes to mind when you get to the NFL, we'll see. But, yeah, Jaguars fans, if you end up with Travis Hunter, it's been a very bad year that has continued, but it's a very good thing.
Couple more for Darren on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Let's talk big picture Big 12, Darren. We were discussing this earlier this week, and so as we certainly look to the matchup on Saturday in the Swamp, I do want to talk big picture in the Big 12, UCF's second year in the conference, and of course, the first year that we've seen Colorado, Arizona, Utah, et cetera, as members of the conference. What do you make of the parity right now, and is it the hardest conference in college football right now to nail down who actually could get that automatic bid to a 12-team college football playoff?
Oh, it's wide open. That's something we talked about even back in Las Vegas at Big 12 Media Days, just saying how topsy-turvy this league is going to be. It's going to be very entertaining to watch, but it has to be incredibly frustrating for anybody coaching or playing in it. At last, I think there are 3 teams that are 2-0, and everybody else is there's 6 teams that are still undefeated at this point in the season inside conference play for the Big 12, and 3 of them have 2 wins, the other have 1. So this is going to be one of those leagues where you just don't know what you're going to get every Saturday. And that's kind of what Brett Yormark wants. He wants this to be a level playing field. He wants this to be strong top to bottom, and it really does feel like there aren't that many teams that you look at and you just chalk up as a win. But there also aren't that many, well, maybe Houston, but there aren't that many teams that you can just mark out wins for the rest of their schedule. So that's the good news for UCF is regardless of what happens Saturday in Florida, you still have a very clear path to winning a conference championship, which puts you in the playoff probably with a bye. So it's going to be there. The path is going to be there. It's just whether or not, who can step up and actually consistently win in this league because it is going to be a very parity-filled finish for this year.
Darren, this is a little bit off topic, but I saw your tweet about how DJ Uiagalelei is not making his return to Clemson. What are your thoughts on Florida State, and are you surprised at all at how much they're struggling as a whole over there?
For me, it just shows how narrow the margin is for success and failure in college football, especially at this level. And Mike Norvell hit in the portal last year. I mean, he hit on pretty much every point he could have last year. But when you miss at quarterback or when you miss at other positions, it really hurts. And so much of the offense now comes down to who's under center. We talked about it with UCF. Can KJ Jefferson elevate that offense? We have to wait and see. And that's part of what's interesting about this portal era. But, yeah, it is spiraled so fast. And I think that's, again, an option of when you start losing, it's easy to lose again. And the momentum is so important at this level. So, for me, Mike Norvell is easily going to get another year unless he, finds a way to lose to Gabe Gardenia and Charleston Southern. But other than that, I think this is one of those you just kind of have to give him a mulligan and see what happens. But that's the risk-reward of the portal. When you're banking everything on guys who weren't in your program a year ago, they don't know the culture, they don't know the standard, they don't know what you want out of them specifically. So it's the risk reward of this type of college football. And it seems like more and more every single program's doing it. And that's what's kind of frustrating more than ever. We're cheering for laundry and coaches more than we are players or institutions.
Hey, Darren, real quick before we let you go, just because for our listeners who, of course, we affectionately refer to as Heeligans, Darren, our Heeligans don't know that you used to work in the Low Country, spent 6 years up there in South Carolina. Great job covering Clemson, South Carolina. Of course, the run not only to Clemson's football national title, but the run to the Final Four for the Gamecocks on the basketball side of things. Explain this from still having people up there and still having your feelers up there. The perception of Clemson going into Tallahassee this week and the perception of Clemson at large, and then also any insight you have on South Carolina and where that operation currently sits at.
Well, you talk about the portal. Dabo Swinney is the anti-portal. That's the exact opposite of how most of college football is run. And you talk about frustration. That's where a lot of frustration is with Tiger fans. They want to see him at least utilize that somewhat. There were 3 programs that did not take a transfer last year, and 2 of them can't because they're service academies, Air Force and Army. So for them to not take any transfers, that's an interesting decision at this point. But Dabo's really responded with some wins lately. I mean, they obviously looked really bad in that opener against Georgia, but it appears that we're waiting for a Clemson-Miami clash, at the ACC championship in Charlotte. As much fun as it would be to see Stanford that's across the country to play Cal in an ACC title game. But we're getting to the point where I think they're just frustrated with the lack of results, and that's what happens when you win at such a high level over so many years. But they're going to be fine, at least in their league. I think they're going to be more than fine. And pride's going to be on the line at the end of the season when they play South Carolina, but that's a whole other animal in itself. I think as far as the Gamecocks go, they're pretty excited about Shane Beamer, but they're wanting to see more results. So you got very close against LSU earlier in the season. That one felt like one of those moments where they were kind of going to get over the hump, and they obviously didn't. But they've shown some grit. They won, against Kentucky in a game that they absolutely dominated. They've got a big one coming up this weekend. And I think, the patience is going to maybe be there for Shane Beamer if he can get through this season alive. But patience is a hard thing to find in college football.
Darren, final thoughts on UCF and Gainesville on Saturday night. Which team do you think wins? Which way do you think the game goes?
It's a hard question because, honestly, my thought is who's going to have more of a letdown? I think there's enough emotional baggage to go around for both schools. For whoever does lose, they're going to be in a very big hole coming out of this one. So the question to me is not which side of the ball on either team is going to step forward and make the plays to win. I think it's which defense is going to let you down. And I don't know if the Gator defense can somehow find a way to slow down R.J. Harvey in that rushing attack. Colorado obviously did it, and it looked like they did it with ease. So maybe that's a possibility. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now. But if UCF's defense can kind of slow them down enough to let their offense stay in the ball game, that's where UCF's going to have success. But I don't even know what style of game we're going to see. This could be a 45-44 shootout, or it could be a 9-10 slugfest. Like, I have no idea what to expect. I just think somebody is going to lay an absolute egg. That's where I come down to it. One of these teams is just not going to show up in the clutch, and that's where you're going to see even more of a letdown. But that's just my idea. I don't know.
I'm just here for the content. So the idea of one of or either of them laying an egg and the consequences and the reaction of that is pure content. So I love it. I'm here for it. Darren Stoltzfus of West TV. As always, we appreciate you, my friend, joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline.
Absolutely. Love you guys and the Heeligans.
You are the best, Darren. And, of course, you can find him at Darren Stoltzfus on X, Twitter, whatever you are calling it these days. Does a great job covering not only the Knights, the Gators, all of Florida's teams, as well as the Orlando Magic, and so much more down in the Big O.
We'll keep the college football conversation going. Appreciate Darren for joining us. Talk a little bit more about that UCF Florida game and a whole lot more. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. And don't forget, we have more concert tickets coming your way for Rascal Flatts. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
He's mastered the art of incognito.
Charming, sophisticated secret agent.
Case Carline takes you behind enemy lines. 5 hours before kickoff on 1010XL. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Visit the showroom on Phillips Highway. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Lauren Brooks here. Now at Hodges Mazda, get 2.9% APR for 72 months on the 2024 Mazda CX-90. That's Mazda's largest and most luxurious SUV. Or drive home a 2023 Mazda CX-30 2.5S Preferred for as low as $26,999. This compact SUV is designed for both city driving and weekend getaways. Discover the Hodges Mazda difference with the non-commissioned sales team who are always focused on your best interests. Plus, enjoy 2 years of free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at hodgesmazda.com. See dealer for details. Terms and fees for qualified applicants expires October 31st, 2024.
Looking for a new or used firearm? Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach will get you locked and loaded. New firearms coming in weekly and always looking for used guns. No lines and no waiting. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. Hurricanes happen in Florida. That's not news. But what happens even more often than hurricanes are home break-ins. And if security is important to you, you might want to look into hurricane-rated impact windows.
What you may not know is that hurricane-rated impact windows not only help protect your home in case of a hurricane, but they also offer another level of security for your home.
Have you seen those videos on YouTube that show people trying to break through an impact window? A thief is way too lazy to spend his energy trying to break through one of our impact windows. That's why he doesn't have a real job like you. He'd rather break your non-impact window while you're at work. Window World has high-quality, very affordable hurricane-rated impact windows to help protect your home from hurricanes and from lazy thieves.
Call us today at 904-443-7001. Get a free estimate and see for yourself. You save energy, get more security, and the windows add value to your home. With all Window World windows, you get the best guarantee in the window replacement business.
Window World, simply the best for less. And thank you for your business.
Jacksonville, are you ready? The college basketball season is tipping off with an epic in-state showdown. The Florida Gators and South Florida Bulls go head-to-head in the Jacksonville Sports Foundation Invitational. Be there Monday, November 4th at Veterans Memorial Arena and witness this in-state rivalry live. Secure your seats now at Ticketmaster.com. It's Florida versus South Florida to start the college basketball season on November 4th in Jacksonville. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com.
When my wrist pain was acting up and I needed help, I took Dan Higgins' advice and headed over to see the experts at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. This is Stuart Moore with the PGA Tour. I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whenever you have a need, they took great care of me. They'll take great care of you.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. The next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Helmets and heels. Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O.
If you want high-quality water in your home at a fair price that won't scare you to death, then talk to someone who knows water and is not a pushy salesman. Contact your local water boy, Keith. I install premium equipment and can repair or even rebuild your existing system. In a business known for aggressive sales tactics, let me show you how my approach is different. If you've got any water problems, contact the water boy at waterboyjack.com.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey folks, this is Dave Benyon with my son Ammon here from Zero Res. Ammon, you've been cleaning air ducts for a while now. What are some of the reasons customers might consider getting their air ducts cleaned?
There are many reasons. Many times, people suffer needlessly from poor indoor air quality produced by the conditions in their air system. Construction dust, the presence of bacterial growth, and years' worth of buildup all come together to make your air ducts a pretty gross place. If you suffer from allergies, have recently moved, recently remodeled, or have never had your air ducts cleaned, then now is the best time to call. By calling Zero Res, you'll have the peace of mind of knowing that you called the best of the best. Our state-of-the-art truck mount system and top-of-the-line service representatives simply can't be found anywhere else. Google Zero Res and read thousands of 5-star reviews.
So what kind of deals can I expect?
Just mention that you heard us on the radio, and we'll give you $100 off your air duct cleaning.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty great deal. Remember, folks, Zero Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
CEROREC. Zero Res.
3D Digital
has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
Small business, big target. DoubleCheck provides AI-powered cybersecurity solutions to small businesses so you can keep your eye on the ball. Book your free consultation this month for 10% off your first 6 months. Visit doublecheck.com today.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Riddle Wellness. Over in Tallahassee, the FSU Seminoles are gearing up to face number 15 Clemson this weekend. Backup quarterback Brock Glenn is in line for his third career start. Former top 500 national recruit started last season for his first career start in the ACC Championship and second start at the Orange Bowl. Noles head coach Mike Norvell spoke after practice yesterday in his confidence behind Brock after having those 2 important starts under his belt.
His first start as a championship game, obviously a very difficult circumstances. They're even in the bowl game just for kind of what that was, and now probably playing one of the better teams in the country. And but he's built for it. I love his energy. His teammates respected that. The work and just the investment he makes. He's got a great bounce to him. There's no question that Brock has earned his respect in his time here in Tallahassee.
Noles and Tigers kick off Saturday night at 7. It's 86 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Sometimes it feels like this world's spinning faster than it did in the old days. So naturally we have more natural disasters from the strain of a fast pace.
Taylor Dalmy, O'Brien, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks, and you are listening to Rascal Flatts. There's a reason for that. The band is coming to Jacksonville, and should I reward the caller who already knows?
Let's go. I love it.
All right, caller number 1, 641-1010. You will win the second pair of tickets to go see Rascal Flatts at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. That comes up April 5th. This is, of course, win them before you can buy them. They will go on sale Friday morning at 10 a.m. Ticketmaster.com. So if you don't win the tickets today, certainly head to Ticketmaster.com Friday morning to get your tickets, but we have one more pair to give away. All right, I want to wrap our thoughts on Florida UCF following our conversation with Darren Stoltzfus down in Orlando. To me, it comes down to one simple thing. Does RJ Harvey, the running back for UCF, go off for over 100 yards? If the answer is yes, Florida loses the game. If he's able to be contained like Colorado was able to do, then Florida, assuming that Florida can actually score some points offensively like they were able to do against Mississippi State, the worst team in all of the SEC, then certainly Florida has a chance. RJ Harvey against Colorado had 16 carries for just 77 yards, averaged 4.8 yards per carry. That to me is the bottom line of this game. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and I think to his point when we were just talking to Darren, because I was thinking the same thing, and at first I was going to ask a question about if he was expecting this game to be a high-scoring game just because the defenses have been so bad on both sides. But then you start thinking about it, and you're like, but there's been so many hiccups on the offenses too, and if they haven't been able to do like their main thing, things kind of fall apart. And so it will be interesting. And I think a lot of it does fall on the defense, because if Florida's defense is able to stop the run game, then obviously that shifts a lot of things. And UCF has struggled a ton when it comes to that passing game. So if Graham Mertz does come out and he shows that Graham Mertz, the accurate quarterback Graham Mertz that we've seen that can really kind of hit the nail on the head a lot of times in the passing game, I do think that it is a game where Florida can win it pretty easily. But if UCF gets their run gaming whatsoever, and, we talk obviously a lot about RJ Harvey, but also what KJ Jefferson can do on the ground too. If those two start going, it could be a long day for Florida.
And like you mentioned, Mia, KJ Jefferson last year on Arkansas's team went into the swamp. Arkansas won thanks to a Cam Little last-second field goal. We appreciate him here in Jacksonville, as Florida fans didn't appreciate him then in the moment. But KJ Jefferson is not going to be phased, even though, yes, it's going to be a very loud environment because it's a night game versus that game that I want to say was 3:30 last year.
Let me ask you this, because I agree. I think the headliner of this game is quite simply, can UCF run the ball because that's what they want to do, and can Florida stop the run because that's what they've struggled to do for the better part of the last 2 years, if not longer. But let's also throw in that Florida defense. Because I do think that the Florida, and obviously I'm talking about the run game, but I'm talking about big picture, the Florida defense at large. Because as much as we talk about Billy Napier being on the hot seat, and certainly if he is dismissed, then the entire operation is going to be dismissed at some point or another, unless there are holdovers by whoever the next coach is.
There won't be, not defensively. That's
right,
fine.
correct. And so that's right. I mean, maybe Mike Pete, but we root for Mike Pete. But either way,
I mean more like the co-defensive coordinators.
Correct, and that's the point that I want to get at, Lauren. This defense for Florida, as much as Doug Peterson was asked this morning here in Jacksonville about the Jaguars' inability to generate a pass rush, how would you describe Florida's pass rush for the better part of the last 2 years?
I would say close to non-existent. They'll sometimes get pressure, like Big Dez can get pressure at times, but he doesn't always get to the quarterback. And sometimes, look, they have to double team him. People obviously like to joke around because he's over 400 pounds, closer to 450 pounds at this point in time. But he is at times a man mover. And so he can get, like I said, close, but he doesn't actually get sacks. And that's certainly something that Florida's been missing is there's been a lack of pass rush, and then the secondary can't cover. Very similar to how the Jaguars and Texans game went on Sunday, where, yes, Josh Hines-Allen was getting pressure, but nobody could really get to C.J. Stroud, and then he had time to throw, and that leaves the secondary on an island. That's, to me, what the Florida defense has been like for the last couple seasons. They have some talent there now, and Jason Marshall's certainly playing better this year as far as safety is concerned. People thought he'd be in the NFL by now. So they've been playing a little bit better, but Jordan Castell, another bright spot. But overall, their defense is really bad, really, really bad against the run. And that's why this matchup certainly comes down to that.
So UCF has given up 8 sacks through 4 games. That is 11th in the Big 12 out of 16 teams. Colorado has given up the most sacks. I know you're shocked by that. 18.
Surprised.
They also...
What is Deion blame for that?
But here's the other side of that. UCF has just 3 sacks in 4 games this year. And so that's where I think the underrated storyline will actually be pass rush. And that's where I think Darren's point of could we see a shootout isn't that far off, because this idea of if both quarterbacks, or I guess all 3 quarterbacks, have all day to throw the ball, then do we see 2 teams that can create something through the air as opposed to solely on the ground?
Well, in UCF, Taylor, sorry to interrupt, UCF has a wide receiver who is super talented. That if you watched that UCF TCU game when UCF was down early, like 21-7, and then they came back, Kobe Hudson had 6 receptions, 145 yards.
Yeah.
So you're talking about they have a good rushing attack, but they also have a guy that can, I mean, that's averaging 24.2 yards per catch, and he had 2 touchdowns. So they have playmakers, but that's where, does Florida have enough playmakers offensively if you look outside of just the running back?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those games where it's weaknesses against strength on each side. And that's when you don't really know what to expect out of the games. And to his point, when he said he could see a shootout or he could see it being like a 9-7 or something like that, just because it's one of those games where if UCF or if Florida's defense is like, let's put all of our effort in just stopping this run because we know that's their biggest weakness. But then you see Jefferson, actually have a game where he had against early in the year, I think the second game, 80% of his passes he completed. You don't make any mistakes, no turnovers, didn't have any touchdown, but the run game was just enough during that game. And I think that if it's something like that, but then on the other side, UCF's biggest weakness is allowing those passers to be able to just kind of take advantage of the deep balls and getting those chunk big yards. And so if they're able to do that, then you have 2 teams that are literally just playing to each other's weaknesses and strengths. Exactly.
Like I said, I love the idea. I do love the over. Let's play the over on my bookie. I'll pull that up here in just a second. We are going to play the over in this game because I think both defenses are truly, if you want to look at the culprit of why the seasons have gone the way they have, I would point to the defense, if nothing else for UCF. Look, Colorado has a high-powered attack, but come on now. Like, you can't compete with a team that doesn't literally have a defense, but now suddenly they do. So that's, for me, that's where I am absolutely playing the over in this game. I do think it'll be a shootout, but I also do like Darren's train of thought of both of these teams. If one of them gets rolling, will that momentum scare the other one off to the point of just packing it in?
Well, if it's UCF that gets rolling, I think we've already heard that the Gainesville crowd is not too nice to Billy Napier when he's appearing on drunk driving ads, obviously anti-drunk driving ads. And so I think that's when you're going to feel the crowd get tight, or you're going to start to see fans leave and certainly fans boo. And so if Florida starts to get things rolling, then I expect fully the opposite. UCF is going to start to collapse a little bit. And look, Trey Wilson, I say Florida doesn't have enough playmakers offensively because Trey Wilson has been hurt, and I doubt he's going to play this week either.
So the total in this game, 61.5.
And you're going over that.
I'm going over that, and that is the highest total. That is the highest total among Power 4. I almost said Power 5. Power 4 matchups this weekend, except for West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech, Arizona.
I'll say another thing that popped out that Darren said too was the fact, which we've had our criticisms of Billy Napier's in-game coaching, so this would not be a surprise to me. But when he said that it'll be interesting to see if Billy Napier, because obviously they have a game plan, but if this game plan you go in and Graham Mertz is having one of these games where he is playing like we saw in last year, where he's being super accurate and he's being consistent and they're driving and they're scoring, do you go away from your game plan and say, okay, this is working, or do you still throw DJ Lagway in there a little bit?
Well, I think it just depends on how the flow of the game is, as far as is Florida gaining yards rushing? Because if they're not, then you put in Lagway to see if you can get some
start getting
momentum.
those going.
Yeah, because he obviously is a big, strong, physical quarterback. But if the offense is flowing well, I mean, I shouldn't just assume that Billy Napier is going to have a feel of the game, right? Because to your point, he's said in the past, regardless of the outcome, and he told Taylor McGregor before the game against Mississippi State that Lagway would get the 3rd, 6th, and 9th series, which some people say, no, he never said that. Beat reporters that are closer to Florida. So who knows exactly what Billy Napier is going to do. But if he's smart, then he waits to see how Graham Mertz does. And DJ Lagway should only be used in times when Mertz isn't playing well, because Mertz can really get into a rhythm and be super accurate.
I never want to call for a man's job, but I feel like we almost need to have a segment on this program of like, how hot is the seat? Like, is this the week? Like, what's your prediction of when Florida and Billy actually part ways?
It all depends, obviously, on how the games go. I mean, if Florida loses 45-44, if you're over,
if you're going over the 61.5,
I don't think Scott Strickland fires him on Sunday, despite the fact that the fan base is going to be up in arms. If Florida loses...
It's a 2-touchdown loss.
Yeah, if Florida loses by 2 touchdowns, certainly that you could make a case for that. But again, what's always tricky about these conversations is firing him doesn't mean you're all of a sudden going to have Lane Kiffin in Gainesville.
Right.
And now when you take on Tennessee
He's
at
not like
night
on the plane on the way.
At night in Neyland Stadium, by the way, which just had Morgan Wallen play a couple shows there. You think that stadium was loud for those concerts? It's going to be insane next Saturday night when Florida plays.
We didn't even ask Darren about the alma mater in Tennessee. Oh, I'm going to text him and apologize.
We don't even have to ask.
We should have kept the good
I can
vibes
tell you
going.
all about them. But yeah, that stadium is going to be electric. And so it's not like firing Napier fixes everything. And so it's the same conversation that we have with other coaches, namely probably Doug Peterson here. Does firing Doug all of a sudden magically fix the problems and you start winning? I don't think so. All right, let's get it back to the Jaguars conversation. There's some news on Anthony Richardson. Taylor has a tangent when we return, and we have more concert tickets for you. You are listening to 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This is Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Let's go, defense!
A good-looking defense does more than protect your zone. It can enhance your home.
Hey, this is our house! Hey, this is our house!
After the game, catch the superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game on 1010XL.
What a glorious week of football and betting it was last week. Mia here, and if you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running the double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. Another huge week starting with college and NFL games on Thursday. Sign up now for a little Sunbelt, Funbelt college matchup. You heard in my midweek picks, I am taking Texas State, a 2-touchdown favorite on the road at Troy. I also love the underdog. Somehow they are the underdog on Thursday night football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the ATL. Give me the Bucks plus 1.5. I have no idea how that line is hanging, where it is. And also, we just said it, pound that over. 61.5 between UCF and Florida. For a limited time, MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on that very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
What makes that famous call? Dinner's ready! Even better? It's cooking a great meal with natural gas, enjoying faster cooking times and precise temperature control. And now getting a valuable cash rebate up to $300 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas range or cooktop. Anyone want seconds? When you show your home love with natural gas, it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
This right here is as good as it gets. This is life getting lived without obligations or complications. This is filling your cup and savoring the moment. This is the gift of presence, served to you in a place where there's room for everyone and enough to go around. And the best part, it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Now, it's time to showcase the Crown Royal Special Teams Player of the Game. Live generously and life will treat you royally.
Cam Little was huge for the Teal and Black on the road in Houston. The young kicker was perfect for Jacksonville on both his field goal tries and his extra point attempts. Little's nickname should be ATM because he's money whenever Jacksonville needs it. Cam Little is your Crown Royal Special Teams Player of the Game.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Hello, I'm Jerry Holland, Duval County Supervisor of Elections. Are you ready for the presidential election? The clock is ticking. In Florida, you must register to vote 29 days before an election, which is Monday, October 7th. Please check your voter information before voting. If you've moved, visit us at northfloridavotes.com and update your address. Remember also, avoid the long lines on Election Day and vote early. Check your sample ballot for the nearest location. We'll see you at the polls.
Expert Automotive on St. John's Bluff Road has some of the highest Google reviews in Jax for a reason. Expert Auto never sells greed, only what you need. All makes and models are serviced at Expert Automotive. This month, get an alignment inspection for only $19.99. Expert Auto does major engine and transmission repair and simple maintenance. All services done at Expert Auto by our ASE certified training technicians. Call today, 374-3373, and ask about $50 off any service. Expert Automotive. We never sell greed, only what you need.
Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist congratulating our Scholar Athlete of the Week, Van Thong, senior football, soccer, and track and field athlete at Ed White High. As Mr. Senior Ed White High, Van participated in ROTC and the Student Government Association.
This election, if you want someone who will take care of the messes, someone who isn't afraid to get dirty and work in the trenches, someone who will pump out the problems and prevent future ones, vote for the Duck.
Need your septic tank serviced? Call DuckDuckRooter, your 5-star Google-rated septic company. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com.
I approve this message.
When you're stuck, call the Duck. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Have a group trip or company function soon? Mark Watson here with Hardball Creative. Get busy ordering the t-shirts and other swag you'll need. It's easy with Hardball.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Mia here. The name to remember this hurricane season is Pro Jax Roofing. Your neighbors have relied on Mike for 25 years to repair or replace their roofs. When you call Pro Jax Roofing, you only talk to Mike. No expensive salespeople. You always get the best price for your project. For the lowest insurance rates, a free wind mitigation report is always given with your roof replacement. Pro Jax Roofing wishes you a safe hurricane season. And if needed, Mike is here to help. Call today for a free estimate or go online at projaxroofingfl.com.
At Hidden Hills Golf Club, we truly love the game of golf. We invite you to book your next tee time here and enjoy a golfing experience that you might not find at other public facilities. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
One more Rascal Flatts song for you. Last time we had Mayberry, the first one, Fast Cars and Freedom, and this one, Praying for Daylight. If you love Rascal Flatts, you'll be glad to know they are coming to ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena April 5th, 2025. These tickets are win them before you can buy them. They don't go on sale till Friday morning at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. So if you want to go to the concert, our final pair to give away, be caller number 2 at 641-1010. Caller number 2, 641-1010. All right, quick update on Anthony Richardson. Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts, tweeted out earlier today that Shane Steichen, the head coach of Indianapolis, said that Anthony Richardson will possibly practice today, depending on how he felt in the next few hours and based off of what the training staff decided, feeling much, much better. Then he tweeted out an update to that. Ultimately, the decision has been made to hold Richardson out today, but he's optimistic and feeling good. Do we think we're going to see Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson for the Colts?
I think tomorrow's a very big day.
Yeah, for sure is.
I mean, again, and I said this, I did a call in with South Florida radio this morning, and I said, like, big picture, yes, the health of your quarterback is of utmost importance. John Ozier and I were talking during the handoff about maybe the Jaguars learned from last year with Tyson Campbell and that hamstring, with Trevor Lawrence and his litany of injuries. That is why they've been so careful with Darnell Savage, why they've been so careful with Evan Ingram. Maybe that's the Colts' MO too. But I just can't help and come away from, if Anthony Richardson is 90%, 85% healthy, and you're Shane Steichen, and you are part of the brain trust that selected him 4th overall, we always say it, you're going to play hurt in this league.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not injured, you are going to play hurt at times. And I'm not encouraging it. It's just the reality of the situation and the expectation of you're a franchise quarterback, you have to gut it out.
But does the hip affect, and they're going to tell us no, but do you think the hip affects his ability to throw the ball?
I do, but at the same time, there have been quarterbacks who've played through injuries before. And that's the part.
Smarter, more experienced quarterbacks.
Right. But I just can't help but wonder, at what point are you going to say they just keep making not excuses for the injuries for Anthony Richardson, and that's the reason we're not seeing him, is they're just, you know, they have kid gloves and they want him to be, which I'm here for it. I want him to be healthy. I want him to be at his absolute best. But at what point do you say, okay, this is actually Shane Steichen saying behind the scenes, Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win, and that in turn is an indictment on the quarterback that you drafted 4th overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go back here and look at how a quarterback playing through injury can hurt you.
Yeah.
And they can be looking at that. They could say, number one, Anthony Richardson has a history of injury. So do we want to push this and possibly make it worse? And honestly, they are probably looking at this game like, yeah, it's been a long time since we've won there, but this team's kind of messy right now. And we probably don't need Anthony Richardson. And maybe they're looking at it that way. Maybe they're saying we think Anthony Richardson's the guy and we'd love that he'd be healthy and we think that he gives us the best chance to win. But I don't think we need our best starting quarterback out there. We saw Joe Flacco beat the Jags last season. And so I think they'd look at it. Number one, you don't want to further injure Anthony Richardson. Also, when a quarterback doesn't play all week, especially a quarterback who's still only in like his 10th start in the NFL, not practicing with your team during the week does hurt you. And so if he's not practicing or if he can't be 100% with the offense this week, I don't see them wanting to take that chance just because I think it factors into multiple things. I think sometimes your coaches, they were not here, need to be smarter and realize that your quarterback being hurt and playing is hurting your team more than it's benefiting your team.
Joe Flacco, we talk about him here like he's this legendary star. I mean, yes, he does have a Super Bowl, but I mean, as far as the recent years, last year he threw for 1,600 yards with the Browns, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And this year he's only played in the one game. He had 2 touchdowns, 168 yards. But he's not this like magnificent quarterback. We just are more afraid of the guy that has seen many, many, many more years in this league than Anthony Richardson. I mean, Flacco's been in the league since 2008.
Yeah.
Richardson, it's his second year, and he only really played in, 4 games last year to start, and then had the season-ending shoulder injury. And so they're never going to tell us, Mia, as far as, well, we do think this quarterback gives us the best chance to win. Really, like, the Panthers are the only team that I feel like just declared it to the world because Bryce Young wasn't hurt and they didn't try to fake an injury or anything like that. They just said Andy Dalton is a better quarterback than Bryce Young is right now, and they're not wrong. What direction does Shane Steichen go in for this Sunday? Do they think they can win with either quarterback? It's all fascinating.
I mean, it's kind of, not that you want to compare apples and oranges, but it's kind of like the situation out in Tallahassee where would you, if you're Mike Norvell, and certainly at 1-4, I think this is the case, but would you be able to bench DJ Uiagalelei if he did not have the finger injury? Like, the finger injury coming out makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. I don't think they want to bench Anthony Richardson right now. I think that especially how he looked before he got hurt. If you were watching that game on Sunday, he looked really good, actually. It was like, and they weren't having to rely on all these deep shots down the field. He was hitting the short, intermediate, easy passes here and there, which has been one of the more criticisms on Anthony Richardson. A lot of Colts fans are upset that it ended up having a little injury and that Flacco came in, and they're getting annoyed that people are like, oh, but Joe Flacco gives you a better chance to win, because them watching that game was like, no, we're seeing Anthony Richardson develop into the quarterback we've been waiting to see, and then now you get another setback. And I think a part of it may be also Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, he's dealing with an injury right now, too. It's a ankle sprain. They said mild. So we'll see on that one. But if Jonathan Taylor isn't playing, also, they may want Anthony Richardson out there to help the run game just because of how he can move on the ground, because obviously Flacco's not going to give you that. And I'm not sure how much they trust in Trey Sermon.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be fascinating to see the way that they handle it and game plan it. And then, of course, the way that the Jaguars do, too, because, oh, by the way, the Jaguars certainly are dealing with several injuries as well. We don't have the injury report from today yet, but I have a feeling there's going to be more guys added that will look up and go, man, this team, it just keeps getting more and more attrition as we go. All right now, Taylor Dahl has a tangent. Take it away.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I saw a tweet from Daniel Griffiths. I read a lot of his stuff on here because he goes really into depth with obviously the analytical side of the Jag stuff, but stat numbers and all of that stuff. And it popped out to me. So he said the Jaguars have now had a 4+ game losing streak in each of the seasons that have been coached by Doug Peterson. In 2022, they had a 5-game losing streak in weeks 4 to 8. In 2023, they had a 4-game losing streak in weeks 13 to 16. And then now, obviously, starting 0-4 here is another 4-game losing streak. But the Jags have also seen 5-game win streaks in both 2022 and 2023 with Doug Peterson also. So this kind of popped out to me because I was like, this seems like a little bit of his MO at this point of and granted, it's been opposite. 2022 and 2023 went opposite. So which way does this go? Does this season have that potential to also flip? You see a 4-game losing streak, but can you now see a 5-game win streak out of the Jaguars? And I think a lot of people looking at the schedule ahead say they could see a possibility of that happening. Not with the team that's played the last 4 weeks, so there's got to be a different team and coaching staff showing up to the games, but I do think it is interesting because when you go back to 2022, obviously they lost to the Eagles, the Texans, the Colts, the Giants, the Broncos, and that was from the entire month of October. And then you go and obviously they end the way they did against the Titans, the Cowboys, the Jets, the Texans, and the Titans. And that's how they got into the postseason and everyone's pumped. Then you go back to last year and they beat the Falcons, the Bills, the Colts, the Saints, the Steelers. And then you go on to see them lose to the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, and the Bucks to multiple backup quarterbacks. So it is, if you want to look at any light, Doug Peterson's teams have been able to flip the scripts when they've needed to.
We're going streaking. That's what you're saying.
I'm just saying there is the possibility. I think that going 5 straight games would be difficult for them right now. I think that winning 2-3 in a row would be obviously everything that the team would need to start at least feeling like there's some momentum and things are going right, which I do think that is very possible.
I think it's possible. And again, the game is not played on paper, but the reality is that, yes, if only on paper, which you were also a favorite against the Cleveland Browns, and we saw how that went. If only on paper, the Jags are 3-point favorites against the Colts. The Colts could be without Jonathan Taylor and or Anthony Richardson. That, in theory, should give you a leg up. In theory, the Patriots have one of the most anemic offenses in the National Football League. Taylor, you know it well. You've said it well. The offensive line for Chicago is a question. Mm-hmm. In theory, London is supposed to be your home away from home. You should have a leg up in those 3 games, and therein lies a win streak. I need to see it.
Yeah.
I'm already completely looking at, Lauren sent us for later in the week our picks for both college and the NFL, brought to you by MyBookie, and I see that 3-point line in favor of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And even given that 10-game win streak you have over that team from Indiana at home, I still cannot pick it in good faith.
If I would have told you, let's say mid-August, that the Jags at home week 5 against the Colts would only be favored by 3, would you have believed me?
Yes, because Vegas seems to love those young quarterbacks. So it wouldn't have surprised me. They in my opinion at least, they tend to love the either the rookies or the second-year quarterbacks and believe everyone always is like, "Oh, they've got so much potential," so that I wouldn't have been surprised.
So Ben Solik of ESPN, in a great breakdown that he did, if you're an ESPN Plus subscriber, it's on there, go read it. He said that he just can't help but shake this feeling. And I know he speaks for a lot of people in Duval right now. He can't help but shake this feeling that because this roster, if only on paper, is so talented, they just need to gargle some mouthwash, a.k.a. get a win, get this nasty taste out of their mouth of 4 straight losses, and, of course, a losing streak that dates back to last year, or rather, at least a pattern, I should say, and then everything's going to be okay. I hope that's the case. Yeah. But I don't have any factual evidence to suggest otherwise.
Well, and he also does a great job of detailing some stats as far as the quarterback is concerned in Trevor Lawrence. Now, he doesn't put all the blame on Trevor, but he is saying that they have changed the way that they do the offense, and they've really limited the amount of screens that they do. Well, what's a screen, Taylor? That's a super easy pass for the quarterback. That's a high percentage completion pass. And that the Jaguars are atrocious at throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. You say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, because you can get jet sweeps like that. Yeah. So those are really easy things, but they've taken some of that stuff away. So that's why he does a really good job breaking down that it's not all Trevor, but Trevor is missing throws. Other than the deep ball, for the most part, he's been able to hit the deep ball.
And here's the thing. I don't think this is the case because block out the outside noise. But what was the critique of the Jaguars offense in 2023? Horizontal.
Yeah. Not vertical enough.
Everything within 10 yards.
Yeah.
So now they've done the complete opposite.
Like there's a midpoint, by the way, guys. You don't have to go to the extreme every game. And we saw it from, this goes back to Urban years, but even honestly since Doug's taken over, it almost feels like they overcorrect certain things too often to where you're watching a game and you're like, okay, they ran the ball too much or they ran the ball too little. And then they do it to the 10 times extreme the next game. And you're like, you really don't have to do that. Like there's a moderation here that you can figure out. And you want to be able, like Trevor's deep ball's fantastic. It's beautiful. We've seen it. We'd like it to not hit off the helmet of certain players. But I think that you want to be able to still utilize that in your games, but that doesn't mean you have to completely take away all of the short game that may be able to develop into other things. And also, when you're constantly in these 3rd and long situations, you know what could eliminate those is on the early downs, getting 2-3 yards on those early downs.
And what does that suggest, Taylor? What everything we just talked about? What would the culprit? What would the at the core of that? What would
whoever's designing the offense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether that's
which
the
is
head coach,
Doug,
offensive coordinator, Mike.
He told us it's his offense, so this is on you, Doug.
Doug, Press, Mike, all of the above. All right, we've got another giveaway. We've got lunch for 2.
We do. Lunch on the ladies, lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 4.
Don't ever say we didn't give you anything. All right, we've got one segment to go. It's Taylor's last time with us, so we'll get her final thoughts.
Not ever. Not ever. That sounded dramatic. She's just going on vacation.
This week,
Some people may celebrate. I don't know.
We'll get her final thoughts on Jags, Colts, and a whole lot more. You're listening to 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwood. What is a gemologist?
Frank, that's a good question because gemologist is a generic title that can be used by anyone, whether they have any gemological training or not. There's also a graduate gemologist, which is somebody that's taken the gemology courses of the Gemological Institute of America and received a diploma. Then there's a certified gemologist of the American Gem Society. They've received the graduate gemologist diploma, have worked in the jewelry business for a minimum of 3 years, and are tested by examination once a year to re-win the certified gemologist title. There's one other aspect that certified gemologists have that others might or might not have, and that's the accredited gemological equipment to be able to make the right grading calls on diamonds and other gemstones. At Underwood's, we have an American Gem Society accredited gem laboratory that our certified gemologists work in, assuring you the quality and value you deserve.
That's Underwood's, Florida's longest-standing member of the American Gem Society in San Marco, Avondale, the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again, 2.99% year one rate. Dream Finders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida, and don't let the state decide your fate.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
16 years serving great craft beer in Jacksonville is saying something, and that's worth a round of applause. And Bold City Brewery is celebrating. Duval's oldest brewery is set up for a big party October 12th, and you don't want to miss it. All the details are at boldcitybrewery.com.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey with my own Awaken 180 celebration. Maybe not 100 pounds like Hacker, but it's been a full year since I dropped 26 pounds, and I haven't put a single pound back on. For a whole year. Free support for life at awaken180weightloss.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and it is hot out there. You know that, Greg. But Honda has a plan for you on or off the road.
They do. There are a ton of Honda scooters, Honda mini motos, great for the beach. Also get you out in the woods with a Honda side-by-side. Plenty to do and stay cool.
Yeah, four-wheelers, and you can trick them out.
We can. From stereo systems to big builds, we do it all.
Everything's there for you to see. CyclesofJacksonville.com online or on Atlantic near Regency. Check out Cycles of Jacksonville.
It's not just about relaxing. Fishing can be exciting.
That's a big fish in the box right there.
Captain Kevin and the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss and Veterans Wholesale Cabinets.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010 a.m.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
Now, the Performance Painting High Performance Play of the Game. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
When the Teal and Black needed a huge play made to give them the lead while on the road, they looked to Captain Kirk to guide them through that charge. In the third quarter, Trevor Lawrence would find the Jacksonville wide receiver for an 8-yard touchdown, making the score 20-17 in favor of Jacksonville with 6:16 left in the period. The Kirk score is your Performance Painting Play of the Game.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade Water, always in motion.
Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. For the athletes who give everything, nothing beats Gatorade, the studied, tested, and proven fuel of the world's greatest athletes. Gatorade Water, proudly supporting high school sports on the First Coast.
This is Hayden Hurst, NFL tight end. I just wanted to say how grateful I am for Dr. Lip and Active Health in Jacksonville. Wasn't sure where my career was going to go this offseason. Had a lot of issues with my back and right hip. Thought about hanging it up, but thanks to those guys, everybody at Active Health, they got me back to where I needed to be. So thankful for the Bulls Pipeline connection. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can't wait to see where this year takes me out in LA.
Active Health Jacks can help you too. Give them a call today at 904-296-0202 or go online activehealthjacks.com.
Sports fans, JJ LaSalva here. When I need to send my bride flowers or a plant for birthdays or anniversaries, I always go with Hume Flowers. After all, they've been the leading florist in these parts for over 75 years. You can always rely on Hume Flowers.
This is Dr. Michael Iorio, internal medicine physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars great Fred Taylor played for Steve Spurrier at Florida and for Tom Coughlin with the Jaguars. Fred compared the two coaches with Hicken and Prosser.
Coach Spurrier is more like loose and funny and fun. He wanted to win. He wanted to win. Coach Coughlin was tough, driven, like jokes. He ain't joke much. He had his own sort of funniness that was dry, and no one laughed about it. Most times, if you laugh or you're showing teeth, you probably will get fined for it. So I think the correlation is both men really wanted to win.
Fred Taylor with Hicken and Prosser. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
We've done a lot of talking about the hometown team, so let's travel a little bit further south and talk about that UCF Florida matchup. Our thanks again to Darren Stoltzfus of Wesh TV for joining us earlier in today's program, breaking down the night side of things. I really like his prediction, ladies, of this thing can only go one of two ways, and it's Florida by 1,000,000 or UCF by 1,000,000. There is no in between. And while I think we'd all love to see a good game between two Florida teams trying to find their footing, and I know you can say that for a lot of different teams in the state of Florida right now, I do like that idea and that notion, given what we saw from the Knights last week at the hands of a Colorado team who, I'm not kidding, Taylor, it truly felt like they just picked up a defense on the side of the road because I didn't see any sort of defense or any sort of resistance from Dion and company the first few weeks of the season. And then you couple that with a Florida defense that certainly has something to prove over what they've put on tape over the past 2 years.
Yeah, and I think that this is when you start figuring out, both in college football and the NFL, and we talked about kind of the craziness that's happened in the NFL so far this season, but we've seen the same thing happen so far when it comes to college football. I mean, the way that Georgia played Kentucky and then the way that Georgia played Alabama, you felt like it was two very different teams, at least offensively. And so this is where you start figuring out this week and the next couple weeks is when you really start figuring out what teams are and what were flukes and what were more lucky games and what were teams still not having tape on certain players and figuring all that out. So this is when we start, is Colorado, and we'll address this, I'm sure, within the next few weeks, is Colorado's defense getting better? Are they figuring some things out? Are we seeing some improvements and some developments on that side of the ball? Or are teams figuring out that if UCF can't run the ball, it's really hard for them to move the ball?
And that's going to be, I think, the biggest key to watch is what does UCF's rushing attack do with RJ Harvey? And really, what is Florida able to do offensively? Are they able to get into a rhythm like they did against Mississippi State? But again, Mississippi State is a terrible football team. UCF is not a terrible football team. Yeah, the Colorado conversation is fascinating because we saw them lose on the biggest stage to Nebraska, and everyone thought, well, it's because Nebraska's so good now at Dylan Raiola. Nebraska's no longer ranked.
Yeah.
And Colorado has had, I think, the last couple weeks, certainly a much better performance, but then we'll get to see, not this Saturday, but next. Colorado has a bye this weekend. Colorado plays host to 20th ranked Kansas State. That, to me, is a massive game in the Big 12. By the way, just looking at college football overall, the schedule, it's not great this weekend.
Oh, no.
But if you look ahead, there are some
weeks.
really, really good games the next couple weeks.
I never thought I would say thank you, Jaguars, for going to London. I mean, maybe I have. But very excited to actually be able to lock in the next 2 Saturdays, not be traveling or have to wake up to, which I love hosting the Turbonex kickoff show, of course, but not having to worry about waking up at 6 a.m. Let me tell you, folks, when I saw that schedule, same, Lauren, I was like, all right.
Yeah.
We're going to lock in. We're going to lock in these next 2 Saturdays. This Saturday, too, but certainly the next 2.
I have a bone to pick. When I used to host the kickoff show, we had to do the London games.
Yeah.
Now, there was only 1, not 2. But I was here at 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And usually it was the night after Florida, Georgia, because they made sure to do it that when the Jags were away. And so, it was 4:30 to 6:30 a.m. That was not fun.
I was struggling being here at 8 a.m. on this last
That's
Sunday.
what I'm saying.
Like,
Well,
it's
that's
so
right.
early.
Like I said to Taylor, I was like, yeah, now you see like why it's tough for me to stay up and watch college football the night before.
And the worst part was because that Alabama-Georgia game
Was so good.
was the way it was.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to go to bed. And then I'm that type of person that if a game's that good, I can't just, like, go to sleep. Like, that's not happening. My mind's thinking about everything. Now I'm sitting there Googling Ryan Williams and his, like, where he came from and all of the things about both of these teams. And so then I wake up and I was like, okay, I felt like I slept only 4 hours. It's fine, though. I'm not complaining about hosting a kickoff show. I'm not complaining about having to watch a really good college football game on Saturday night. But I was thinking the same thing because I am on vacation this weekend, and I was like, I kind of like that the schedule's not anything.
I'm not missing a ton.
Next Saturday, we have Texas at Oklahoma. Yep. So the Red River rivalry.
The next week after that is Texas, Georgia, folks.
Right. We also have Penn State at USC. We also have, again, this is all next Saturday. We also have Ole Miss at LSU and Ohio State at Oregon. Those are four.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Four.
What are the
games
times for all
between,
those?
Top 10 or top 25 teams. Texas at Oklahoma is at 3:30. Penn State at USC is also at 3:30. You need 2 TVs for that one. By the way, it's also Florida at Tennessee. Game might not be as good. That one's at 7 p.m. Ole Miss, LSU is 7:30, and Ohio State, Oregon also 7:30. So really you need 3 TVs if you're a Florida fan.
We don't have time, but I would love to at some point with the Heeligans do a poll of what is the best time zone because I did at least have that advantage being in Houston this past weekend of having that extra hour.
It's Mountain Time zone.
Mountain Time.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So where
Mountain Time.
Denver is 2 hours.
Oh.
So Pacific is 3 hours. Denver 2 hours. That's 1 hour where you are in Houston.
Yep.
Well, that's Central, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
to me,
love
it's Mountain
Central,
Time
too.
because Mountain Time. Let's say you get off work at 5 p.m. You have football at 6 p.m. That's literally perfect. That's plenty of time to get home, get settled in, and you have NFL football on at 6 p.m. You can go to bed no later than 9:30, 10. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah, I love Central Time. I think that, like, 12 o'clock Sunday games for 1 o'clock are perfect. It's just, I don't know what it is about that 1 hour, but also the 8 o'clock is 7 o'clock. So rather than, like, 10, 11, it's 9, 10. You're still good. But then the college football days, you're getting going at 11 a.m. And the Central Time's my favorite.
Working those 11 a.m. games, let me tell you, it hits differently, especially after high school football the night before. Real quick, of that, please, RJ.
That just happened. Brought to you by Florida Home AC, the official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Evan Ingram is indeed back at Jaguars practice today, according to Justin Lewis of the Florida Times-Union. Ingram does have a leg sleeve on his right leg. Gabe Davis, Jarian Jones, Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, Yasir Abdullah, all in the non-contact jerseys.
All right, Taylor, since we will have you only today and then you're off on Friday, we don't have a show tomorrow. But by the way, we will be on next Thursday. Just put that in your calendars, people. But your final thoughts on the Jaguars playing host to the Colts Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is one of those games where it could be and I just mentioned this when we're talking about those records and the streaks that the Jags have had in the Doug Peterson era so far. And there's been years where they've been able to flip the script. Unfortunately, last year it was in the negative light, but the 2 years before that, it was in the positive light after losing 5 straight games and then being able to win those 4 straight at the end. I think that this game could be one of those that, number one, prove all of these questions that we're asking Doug and Trevor. First of all, I don't think Trevor's going to tell you that him and Doug aren't getting along, but it can answer that in at least the product on the field looking like they aren't just kind of like bored out there. And you've gotten that vibe a few times outside of Trevor. You've seen the fireness from Trevor when he's on the sideline trying to get guys riled up. But outside of that, you feel like there's a lot of moments of just like, why doesn't it feel like anybody else cares? And to me, that does give indication that everybody's not on the same page. So this weekend could change that. Not only that side of it, but it could also change to where, okay, you beat the Colts, you go to London. We're talking about these 2 London games. You've been able to be successful in London, especially last year. You're playing not 2 great teams in London. You could really take advantage of these next 3 games, especially. And so when you're looking at this weekend, in reverse, though, like I said, the Colts are looking at this team like, okay, I mean, cool. The Jags have been a little bit of a hot mess. I'm sure they don't want to be the get-right game, and that's probably what they're focusing on. And I do think that is what it's going to come down to when they are making that quarterback decision, whether they go with Anthony Richardson and how healthy he is, how ready he is, what they think Joe Flacco can do with that offense. How healthy is Jonathan Taylor? Because if Jonathan Taylor's not there, they may need Anthony out there to get the run game going whatsoever. So I do think there's many things that factor into this going either way, I think that 3-point spread makes the most sense. You're at home, but also the game could go either way very quickly.
All right, let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers, the exclusive provider of BioTarget regenerative therapy for pain. Visit GoBioTarget.com for a location near you.
You're like a little kid sitting in your
Plus, I feel like I stumble in there all the time and hit stuff, and I almost said something I shouldn't have said. Hit stuff, and, you guys are like, what are you doing?
Like, are you okay?
And then
Are
I
you
sit
drunk
down in
when
the
you
old
come?
hacker chair. Who, by the way, 100 pounds today. For
Round of
go
applause,
ahead.
RJ.
Right.
Round of applause for Mr. Ryan Green.
He texted me this morning, hey, man, 100 pounds today.
That's so
Good for him.
exciting.
Yeah,
so I believe that's
he's a brilliant Adonis. Is
17
what
to
he is.
217?
317 to 217.
Wow.
7
That's
months.
a life
Crazy.
achievement.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Awaken 180.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Can he play offensive line now?
Heck,
I think he
mean,
could before.
he was a backup guard at Wilson Junior
I know,
High School.
that's what I'm
so
saying.
He
Bring
can't
him
do
back.
much worse than the other two guards of that team, I can tell you that.
Oh, man. Who would you rather the Jaguars face, AR or Joe Flacco?
I don't even think it matters. Honestly, at this point, I don't think I think, and it's so cliche to say this, but at this point, they've got to worry about themselves, right?
It is cliche, but I think that's accurate.
Yeah, they just got to deal with what's going on, whether it is or isn't in that locker room, what's going on the field when they get on the field, taking care of the ball, being smart, just not being reckless out there. Just play the way you're supposed to play. By play. Don't look ahead to a quarter or this quarter or that series. Play by play.
Maybe score some points in the fourth quarter. That would be
that'd
nice.
be good.
They have a field goal across 4 quarters of the fourth quarter.
What do they have? 6 touchdowns total right now? Right, in 4 games?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? 6 offensive
Yeah. Well,
touchdowns?
ETN's got 3. Yeah, something
One
like
of them
that.
was gifted with the fumbled punt.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good point because I feel like here and for historically in Jacksonville, a lot of times you're rooting for certain teams to lose more than you're rooting for your team to win because you just are like, well, we can't take care of the things on our side of the ball,
Right, so
but
maybe
if the
they'll screw
Texans
it up.
lose and the Colts
Right.
lose and the, whatever, I thought we were past that, and obviously we're not because we're having that same conversation, so that is frustrating, but I agree, Matt. You just have to worry about yourself at this point and, get yourself right because everybody else is worrying about themselves.
Yeah, just worried about you.
What do we have coming up on primetime? I heard we may have some illustrious guests. Are the rumors true?
So we have Sean Keane coming up.
Okay.
He's going to talk some NFL. And then we've got the one and only.
Yes.
The one and only Mike Griffith coming up as well.
Oh,
So
baby.
he will break down a little UGA talk for our UGA fans who I kind of called out yesterday. Because, they were always on the text line before this week. And then they got very silent. And then, they came in full force because I called them out, which I love you guys. Bring it, man.
Well, I listened
Bring
to Joel Klatt this morning, and he's arguing that this is the best thing that could have happened to Georgia. That basically,
you can make that argument,
that teams that if these two were to meet again, which I think is probably going to happen at some point or another, Georgia and Alabama,
or twice.
It's hard to beat a team twice in a season to begin with, but Georgia would want that smoke. Alabama is probably looking themselves in the mirror and saying, we got them once. It's all good.
I don't know about that. Alabama's pretty good. I don't think Alabama cares about anybody. Alabama is the classic team of all they care about is us. They don't care about anybody else because they know if they play to their standard, and I know it's a cliche, and I know you hear Nick say it all the time, but if they play to their standard, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. Right. And the same was with Georgia, too. Georgia did not play to their standard in that game.
Yep.
Nope. 6 total touchdowns, 4 passing from Trevor, and 2 on the ground from ETN.
That's
easily counted on 2 hands. All right, Matt.
That's fun.
Thank you.
How do you have 6 touchdowns in 4 games? All right, we're going to get into it.
You guys break
later,
it down.
okay?
You explain all of that. All right,
Thank
that's
you,
going to do it for us. Thank you, Matt. Taylor, have a great time.
Thank you.
Heading up
I'm
to
sure
Chicago?
I will. The weather's so perfect, and I'm so excited. The high's 70 and sunny every day I'm there. Oh, cannot wait.
Have a blast in Chicago. And again, of course, congratulations to Hacker. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. We will talk to you on Friday live from Tijuana for the Fiork and Friends Constellation Golf Tournament. Keep it right here on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Cruising, and you keep losing when you ought to not bet. You keep saying when you ought to be a-changing. Now what's right is right, but you ain't been right yet. These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days these boots are gonna walk all over you.
Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Mia O'Brien here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. If water flows through it, the team at Duck Duck can install it or repair it. From septic tank pump outs, drain field installations, clog drains, water heaters to repipes, they do it all. And they do it well. But don't just take my word for it. Check out the reviews on Google and see what customers just like you are saying about their experience with Duck Duck Rooter. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit duckduckrooter.com to schedule service today.
If you want more action,
Woo! It's Smash Mouth football, baby.
Tom McManus.
Fridays 10 to noon on Jaguars Today.
Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson Windows and Doors. A better way to a better window on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
What a week of football and betting it was last week. Mia here, and if you haven't bet with MyBookie yet, they are still running that double deposit bonus. Just sign up with promo code 1010XL. Another huge week of college and NFL games on tap, and it begins on Thursday. Get signed up now for a little Sunbelt Funbelt college matchup. Texas State, a 2-touchdown favorite, headed to Troy. This is the Funbelt, though, so we will take the over 58 points on that total. For Thursday night in the NFL, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Atlanta, where they open as 2.5-point underdogs to the Falcons. I take a long, hard look at betting the Bucs with the points and parlay that over 43.5 on the total. For a limited time, MyBookie still has the double deposit bonus. Use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. That's promo code 1010XL to double your money. The more you play, the more you win, only with MyBookie.
When storms start to crop up in the Atlantic or Gulf this time of year, having a solid plan to handle anything that sweeps through the First Coast is very important. That's where American Electrical comes in. Ensure your home's safety and comfort with an American Electrical home generator. As the area's leading home generator dealer and installer, American Electrical can offer you easy installation, simple maintenance, and peace of mind. Schedule an assessment by simply calling the team at American Electrical. They'll walk you through the best generator for your home or business. Log on, american-electrical.com.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyoublow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
There's certain places you know if you go in, they got what you're looking for, like Gate Convenience Stores and Cold Modelo's. That's the ticket. Or get on the craft side of things with something from Bold City or Sweetwater. Hit the cooler at Gate, full of choices and all of them good.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Jeff Lagerman here. Now that football season is here, make sure your ride can get to that tailgate or away game safely and dependably. You can trust the ASE certified professionals at any of the 27 independently owned Napa Auto Care Centers and the quality Napa parts they use. Napa Auto Care Centers can handle everything: oil changes, air conditioning, brakes, engines, transmissions, and more. Napa Auto Care offers a nationwide 24-month, 24,000-mile peace of mind warranty on most repairs. Find a Napa Auto Care Center near you. JacksNapaAutoCareGroup.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my successful back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.